Okay, we're here with Leanne at Witchcraft Heights. And question number 1, how would you describe or define the term personalized learning that is student-centered and highly engaging?
So I would see it as learning that is tailored to meet the needs of a particular student or a particular group of students based on their interests or based on their ability, depending on what the activity was. I would see it looking like small group instruction or station type learning, students moving around the room, using different types of learning. Excuse me.
That's okay.
Yeah, so using different learning methods, technology, audio, different learning materials. Based on individual needs and interests.
Great, thank you. And the sub part to that, please describe the kinds of practices you would expect to see in classrooms that reflect that definition.
I would expect to see we're moving in the direction of really looking at some station teaching and some center-based teaching, and I think that is definitely something I would expect to see, and some individual, whether it's individual types of independent reading, independent writing, that students are reading their own books, working in their own journals, and working on, again, reading and writing at their own interest and at their own level. Math centers, a lot of interactive math, manipulative, hands-on, whether it's, again, small group or partners.
Great, thank you. All right, question number 2. To what extent do you see these practices happening in your school and its classrooms? And you can combine the sub-questions if you'd like. What does it look like in those classrooms, and are there any examples where it's happening?
Okay.
Happening well, exemplars.
Yep. I think we're at a real spectrum with that right now. I always joke, because I'm a kindergarten teacher at heart, that if you walk into a good kindergarten classroom, you see it happening all the time. That's what we always did. And then somewhere along the way, that became not. Once you hit first grade, you had to sit at your desk and follow the workbook and do your own work. And I keep saying to teachers, that's really good practice, that whole center-based instruction. So we're starting to move in that direction. We have a fourth grade team that's really starting to think about station teaching and really starting to think about how they're using technology and how they're using peers to work, for kids to work together. So I think we have a pretty solid example up in first grade of that happening. We're starting to see it in fifth grade a little bit more, particularly in science and math a little bit. The younger grades, again, I think that tends to happen a little more naturally, but I think it's funny, like I said, I think when I first started to teach, that was sort of how you taught in the early childhood years. And then little by little, we got all kinds of crazy programs that came in, and they came with workbooks and manuals and blah, blah, blah. And we all started sitting little kids down and making them all do the same thing at the same time, which kind of is sickening. And so I think we now have to go back and retrain our early childhood educators. But meanwhile, the older grades are kind of jumping on and saying, hey, this is really cool. Why don't we teach this way? So it's like this weird equilibrium is off from what it used to be, which is fine. But I think.
What do you think accounts for the upper grade teachers saying, hey, this is cool, and they're jumping onto it?
I think I think they're realizing that one size doesn't fit all, and as we're moving more toward the sort of toward the standards-based teaching, and we know exactly what kids need to learn. Everyone has to access these standards.
Mm-hmm.
How they get there isn't as important as before. I think before we looked a lot in teaching at how we taught. You know, we have to teach all this stuff because this is what we're being told to teach.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're just being told this is what they have to know. So how they get to that know point, you have a little more room to play with. We also have a high special education population in the school, so we're really looking at our differentiated instruction.
Mm-hmm.
We just really have to, and how we're looking at inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have children with some pretty substantial needs in the school. Our growing ELL population, our socioeconomic population is changing. I think teachers are just realizing that they have to start to tweak their instruction to meet the needs more.
Mm-hmm.
And they're being given permission to do that. I think that more than they ever were.
That's very important.
I think things like programs like Everyday Math are going away, and programs like, you know, that scripted stuff
Mm-hmm.
is kind of going away, and I think it panicked teachers in the beginning, and it still panics a lot of teachers,
Mm-hmm.
but teachers that are sort of open to a little more creativity
Yeah.
are excited.
Do you see these practices happening in classrooms? And if so, is there an exemplar or exemplars?
Right now, I would say an exemplar is in our 4th grade. We actually lucked out. We hired a wonderful, wonderful new 4th grade teacher this year who is not brand new. She's got about 6 years of experience, which is like perfect because they're 6 really good years. She's not only super open-minded, but she's got some different experiences, and she's all over this idea of particularly in math, what math workshop and what this station teaching center-based concept looks like in math.
Mm-hmm.
So she has groups that are each group, it's all differentiated, and she's using a lot of technology, which is interesting. Not just technology, but that's definitely one way that
Mm-hmm.
we're able to differentiate. So I would say right now here, that feels like an exemplar to me. We also have a kindergarten classroom that is really starting to move, kind of find her way back to what some good center-based activities look like.
Mm-hmm.
So that feels good
Great.
to me. So I think that's, I would say that 4th grade classroom right now is one that feels pretty good.
So let me,
to me.
this isn't a scripted question, but
Yeah.
I'm curious. So she's a newbie,
Mm-hmm.
and she's doing something different.
Mm-hmm.
How the other teachers responding to that?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because she it's our 4th grade, and 2 of our 4th grade teachers left this year. So we lost an ELA and a math and a science teacher, ELA social studies and math and science. So we have a whole new team. So on one side of the room, we've got these 2 new teachers, and then on the other side, we've kind of got these veteran teachers. One of them, the ELA teacher, I don't think she really cares. She's just doing her own thing. But the math teacher is sort of excited by it, because I think, you know, he's a solid, good, strong teacher. So he's intrigued. He's jumping on the bandwagon. I think
Nice.
He's probably dabbled in this more before than ever we've known. So, and this particular teacher that we hired is, you know, she talks the talk and she walks the walk, and I think people are realizing that.
Mm-hmm.
That and she's very open. You know, she's very open to what she does. So I think it's going okay. I wondered, you know, but she's a natural leader.
Nice.
So people seem to be responding
Great.
pretty well. Yeah, they haven't ostracized her in the lunchroom yet. So.
That's good. That's good. All right. What kinds of supports